Governance of Artificial Intelligence, Week 6, Session 29. AI's Impact on Economy and Jobs, a comprehensive analysis of AI's transformative economic effects. As part of this course, in two sessions, this session, next session, we will look at AI's impact on economy and jobs, particularly taking into account recent literature and also the upcoming, some of the developments which people anticipate. But let us also understand one thing very clearly, that what we are seeing in the literature, what we are seeing in various policy documents today, particularly some of the policy documents from different government agencies in India and elsewhere, the impression or the idea one is getting is that nobody knows exactly as to what are going to be the implications, particularly in the medium term and the long term, and how AI's impact on economy and jobs will be spread across different sectors in the medium term and long term. And as economists also debate on the impact of AI on economy and jobs, we need to look that in a not just on AI but also in the broader context of AI, impact of digitization, impact of automation on job displacement, skill training and other things. But no amount of analysis can really tell us as to what will happen in the both medium term and long term, because technology trends point out certain things, but then how firms, economies will react to that, how governments will react to that, what policy measures government will take to mitigate the risks and then to increase or enhance the benefits, depend upon so many factors. While economies themselves take different positions, also take different approaches based on different methodologies, it is also very difficult to say precisely exactly that after 6 months this will happen, after 1 year this will happen, after 18 months this will happen, or this technology will totally change things into a totally different unanticipated ways. So take whatever is discussed here as a guidance, or more something like looking at the trends as something which will help us to understand, rather than as the comprehensive but the conclusive evidence or conclusive proof for anything. So in this session, we will look at the AI revolution context, the macroeconomic impact, the labor market transformation, sector by sector analysis, policy inequality and future outlook. Much of the materials, much of the literature which we are citing today emanates from sources like IMF, McKinsey, some of the literature available from USA, because that is where most of the innovation as well as the studies are also being done. In this next session, we will be looking at some of the literature from ILO and other sources, so that we get a broader picture in mind, as well as to get a comparative understanding as to how different agencies, different institutions look at the AI revolution and also its impact. So the AI revolution context, we need to look at the scale, investment and the ChatGPT inflection point. There is an AI investment surge between 2024 and 2025, which is again leading now. The US leads the global AI corporate investment, which is amounted to nearly 50 billion in 2024. China is second with 20 billion. US is accelerating to the AI Act framework. And then different countries are investing heavily in AI, either on their own or by stimulating private sector investment or through joint investment frameworks and all. But the data center construction surge is something which is very unusual, because it has been happening in a large way in the last few years and it's gaining strength by strength. For example, each large-scale center requires at least 1,500 workers. So the AI infrastructure added 160 billion to true GDP since 2022, which is a 0.3% annualized growth. So the investment in information processing equipment also grew by 16.5% year to year in Q3 2025. So the global private sector AI investment has gained momentum. And then the 50 billion is the US sphere, 80 billion is Microsoft's AI-enabled data center commitment as of 2025. But how many of that will translate that into real investment? Where is that difficult question to answer at this stage? So the ChatGPT inflection of number 22 is very important. Number 22, ChatGPT 3.5 is launched, 100 million users in 60 days. And then revenue growth, AI exposed industries nearly quadrupled. This is what Pricewaterhouse says. Private AI investment reaches 91 billion. NVIDIA data center revenue hits 47 billion. AI creates 1,19,100 jobs in USA only. Of that, 12,700 jobs were lost. That's by ITIF calculation. So less than 10% of the firms use AI regularly. Adoption still in AI very early stages. That's what JP Morgan says. So the GDP impact is measurable more from 2027 rather than from 25. So Goldman Sachs says we will have to wait till at least one more year to see what exactly is the impact of AI in GDP. So the adoption landscape is at a very early stage. Government public is much less. Financial services are the early adopters, still going strong. Professional scientific tech adoption is 22%. Overall economy is only 10%. So only 10% of all use firm in the AI as of mid 2025. Professional indicators just only 20%. Low limited to broad labor market impact today. So as the industries use more AI usage, particularly in mining and agriculture, the across sectors the adoption rates will also get to increase in the more. But the whole question of skill change in AI exposed job is accelerated from 25% to higher level in 1 year. So the macroeconomic impact, according to IMF, the projected impact will be 2025 will be less than 5% or the 5 in terms of billion. McKinsey gives a higher annual flow. Goldman Sachs says that next decade this will be the growth, while PwC says by 2030 it will be much more impactful. So whether you talk of $15.7 trillion, which is the PwC growth, or KPMG's plus 7.7 real GDP increase by 2050, slow adoption scenario, or IMF annual growth of 0.5%, which is more like a estimate in the lower side, gains outweigh emission cost. So McKinsey says annual value will be equivalent to adding another Germany every year, which is again a very positive growth, or which is a growth that would fuel further growth in the years to come. So while Goldman says the generative AI may raise the global GDP over next decades by $7 trillion, this is a very positive estimate, but then we really do not know what are the black swans, what are the potential geopolitical constraints and then the implications of that, how things will get a change in the years to come, we do not know. So the impacts as of now looks very positive. Even IMF says that it will be 0.5% per year between 25 to 30. So gains outweigh emission cost, which create on account of the AI adoption. So the productivity gains, this is where the core economic mechanism comes, because however much you invest, however much you train, unless there is a significant productivity gain, the impact will not be felt in terms of the productivity. So cost reduction of drive 40% of productivity gain by AI adopting firms. Revenue growth accounts for 35% of firm level gains. Accelerated innovation cycles contribute 25%. AI infrastructure added 160 billion to GDP since 2022. So the AI impact is expected to become measurable from 2027. Advanced economies will benefit more than double than on the low economy countries. So IMF says the countries that are already benefiting more from AI and adoption will benefit more, or the gains will be differently come across from different sectors. So the revenue growth of the AI exposed industries also will vary. Revenue growth in AI exposed industries nearly quadrupled since 2022. Wages rising twice as fast in most AI exposed industries versus least, or wage gains in AI exposed industries is more than least exposed countries. Even automated loads, wage growths are challenging displacement fears, or displacement fears do not seem to be occurring as of now. So wages rising for AI skilled workers in the same job versus non-AI peers. For example, Nvidia's data center revenues were 15 billion in 2022. It zoomed to 47 billion in 2024. Or in other words, the revenue growth in AI exposed industries is increasing at a significant rate. So the displacement fears do not seem to have taken place or do not seem to be an overestimate as of now. But the infrastructure economy that arises from data centers and energy is really huge, because each data center needs at least 1,500 on-site workers and then 3.5% times of local job multipliers happening, and 1,500 AI use is estimated by IMF by 2030. Of course, this again may be a very positive estimate, because we really do not know as to how many of those AI data centers, energy centers will get actually implemented, and then what will be the constraints, what will be the actual impact of that, it's too difficult to predict. So record volume of data center constructions are ongoing. Data center expansion generated more than 11 lakh US construction jobs. Each it takes about 3 years to complete. Data centers have 3.5 local employment employer for each employee employed in a data center directly. Local employment will be about 4 persons. But AI is energy hungry, which everyone says. So whether this much tetra involved electricity use, how to generate it, who will generate it, and whether AI based firms will enter into cooperation or will enter into a contract agreement, or they themselves will become major investors in energy seems to be a big question. But looks like the firms are trying to do it in various ways, like entering into buying advance buying contracts, or they themselves are entering into energy generation as well as transmission entities. So the net economic gains will outweigh the energy extraction cost. Or this is what the IMF's positive prediction says. But the crucial labor market transformation again is a matter of great dispute. So according to one statistics, while 12,700 jobs were lost due to AI, 11 lakh 90, so many jobs were created by AI in 2024. MIT says 11.7% could in principle be automated. Historical evidence is automation relocates rather than eliminate work, or people get relocation to another level of job, but jobs in terms of total number of jobs eliminated, that doesn't happen. Or in other words, job loss as a total employment have trended downwards over 30 years since automation has widened. Or automation, despite its being widened, has not resulted in a massive displacement or employment loss. Or employment loss on account of automation has been minimal or has not been as critical or as significant as anticipated or as feared. But when it comes to wages, premium for AI skills rises even to higher levels. So wages rising for AI powered workforce than in most automated roles. So AI augments than simply displaces automatable work. Or AI comes in a position where work gets automated, work gets augmented also. Or in other words, that does not result in direct replacement. To put it in other words, AI augments the work without directly sending 2 or 3 persons out of job. At the same time, workers in the age of 18 to 24 are 129% more than to worry about obsolescence because they are the ones who are going to bear the burden of obsolescence. So early career tech workers faced increased hiring headwinds due to AI coding tools. This again is a major factor for India, particularly for firms which rely on coding as the major source of revenue. So according to Goldman Sachs, 20 to 30-year-old tech workers saw 3% rise in unemployment since early 2025. So while there is a premium for AI skills, which 25% increase is there, that doesn't mean that everyone will get it, nor that means that the AI coding revolution on account of AI coding tools is going to be a positive outcome for everyone. So whether the low entry or the entry level jobs in software and then allied services will get displaced, or where the most AI exports jobs will happen, or at what level the jobs displacement will happen is not very clear. But if AI is going to augment rather than simply displace automobile work, is it applicable to all levels? Or is it applicable only to levels where human skill and then human judgment is more important than simply replacing that with AI skills? And whether AI can really replace, if AI can really replace low level skill or low entry level jobs, is it going to happen only in software and the allied services, or is it going to happen across sectors, across all job levels? These are big questions for which no clear cut answers are available now. So AI can augment, AI can automate, AI can displace, AI can enable. If we take this as a criteria, according to PwC that analyzed about 1 billion job ads across six continents, it says AI can augment the jobs of doctors, lawyers, engineers, architects, financial architects, analysts, research scientists, teachers, managers, creative directors, where it can be a productive multiplier than displacement. So here, workers earn a wage premium for AI augmented output. So there is no direct displacement, but workers may earn a wage premium. At the same time, doctors, lawyers, engineers, architects, financial analysts, research scientists, teachers, managers, creative directors, they are not manual laborers. They work more through their skills, technical skills augmented over a period of years, where a lot of tacit knowledge is involved, where the skill set cannot be simply learned by reading books, and more importantly, experience, contextualized learning, contextualized experience, years of experience, sector specific experience, which is embedded in their way of functioning, thinking, and then organizing for the work also matters. So, the expected outcome is that employment is largely maintained or grows, where the jobs AI can play an augmentable role rather than a replacement role or an automable role. But in case of data entry clerks, telemarketers, the problem is their work can be automated AI if not 100% to a great extent. Also, the basic accounting routine legal task where you simply draft a contract or do the routine jobs of doing a literature review. So, customer service like call centers, telemarket operators, content moderation, where AI tools can easily replace them, service representatives, customer service representatives, in basic image tasks, their wages are rising, but according to Goldman Sachs, 2.5% of US jobs are at risk if AI use cases expand economy wide. Or in case of automatable jobs, the risk of them being replaced by AI is higher, although it is constituting only 2% of the US jobs are at risk. But then from economy to economy, this will vary. Again, as AI becomes more skill oriented, as AI agentic AI comes into force, as AI becomes much more intelligent, much more automatable, then the whole question will become totally different dimension. Because agentic AI is expected to bring in a revolution in terms of work organization, in service sector, in factory production, in logistics, and also in different sectors where people work as teams. So if agentic AI is going to replace teams with one person going to be a supervisor or going to be a coordinator, with AI is replacing either in part or in full the role of the others who are now working, what will be the impact on these automatable jobs is not clear. So the skill and then reskilling imperatives becomes a major challenge. STEM jobs actually grew from 6.5% to 10% of all employment. Yes, 50% share increase. But whether will they continue to increase in future is a major question, because AI is making deep inroads into research and development, drug development, and most of the jobs where basic level PhD skills are being acquired by AI, or people who have just completed PhD, their skills are now, which could be replaced by AI. That's the projection which many people make. So STEM jobs, there is no guarantee or there is no safe way to say that STEM jobs will be continue to grow at this rate in the years to come, when AI adoption is also increasing heavily in jobs like automating laboratory procedures, automating research, and then also using agentic AI, and then a lot of robots in research management. So project management and then user interface design are top recommended upskilling paths in 2025. But again, the problem is agentic AI can replace some of the skills in project management where a single coordinator is necessary instead of a team of 20 people or 15 people. And then user interface design, some of the skills can be acquired by AI. AI can become a much more talented, where it could be more like augmented than totally replaceable. Or user interface design or designers where a team of 5 could do a work. It could be possible that AI could do that with the assistance of a one person or two persons, or that one person may be managing teams rather than working with 2 or 3 people. So how the jobs will shift, how teamworks will get realigned or repositioned is not clear. But 49% of the Gen Z job seekers believe that AI has reduced the value of their college degree, because they enter into an entry level job where the premium is getting reduced or becoming zero. So their anxiety, their fear is justified. It is not a irrational fear, because job market is becoming tough for them. 14% of all workers report already being displaced by hire for younger tech workers, or 14% of the workers feel that they are being displaced by AI even now. So the fastest skill change to occur the most in most automobile jobs, or the most automobile jobs are the one where fastest skill change will occur, and of course more displacement can also happen. Skill change in AI reposition job is accelerating on a year to year basis. Or in other words, the skills and then the reskilling imperative as of now is not clear because 60% workers still see task level changes from AI. And then 70% employers now prioritize lifelong learning and then upskilling. But 75% employers prioritize, but for whom and how? See, the upskilling, lifelong learning, they look very nice in paper. But then after some point, the entry level job person can become a supervisor, but beyond that, there may not be a need for a person to go to the manager level or a middle level position. Because jobs at that level may get displaced. So, lifelong learning and then upskilling may be helpful up to some point as long as employers see some value in it. But when jobs are not simply replaced but works are realigned or job roles are being realigned around automation and AI, how much of the lifelong learning and upskilling will help each and every employee is a big question. So one need not say that this will be totally negative. Whole a good percentage of employees will benefit from lifelong learning and upskilling, but whether that same logic can be extended to each and every employee or each and every job is a big question. Particularly when 129% are more likely goals makes their job obsolete. So people fear the jobs will become obsolete or they will have to undergo lifelong learning or upskilling throughout their career path or for longer years to come rather than to have a total impact. Or in other words, the skills and reskilling imperative as of now is not very clear because there are a lot of so many ifs and buts, and then the assumptions are also very vague in the sense that we look into today's technology, there are some projections, for example, about agentic AI, about total automation, and then whether the robots will get much more sophisticated, much more flexible. So how much of factory level automation, how much of service sector level automation will happen, and how many of the jobs in other sectors where you need certain skills which could be easily replaced at the job entry level by AI and robots is a big question. So the labor market stability, no mass disruption as of now, that's a good news. So the Yale budget lab says broader labor market has not experienced very discernible disruption since ChatGPT. So the 33 months of data says there has been no noticeable disruption. Again, Anthropic Research AI also more or less confirms the same. Effect of AI in job is invisible, but subtle signals are emerging. So in certain things, job exposed measures, there is an unemployment rises there. But history shows widespread technological disruption takes decades, not months, not years. So computers look nearly a decade to transform office workforce. But whether the same logic will apply for AI, we are not sure. Because there are two distinct things we need to look into here. One, computers took a nearly decade because when computers entered offices and then workplaces, they didn't have this much capacity of today's current AI and robots. Two, as computers evolved over a period of time, office workflows also got transformed in the sense that workforce got transformed to accommodate the computerized workflow. But today, that has reached a peak or that has reached a more or less the peak in the level of sophistication where AI can play a greater role instead of starting ab initio or starting from scratch. Or today when AI takes over or when AI is introduced, the process has reached a position where AI introduction can be implemented without taking such a long time when compared to computers being introduced in the office work. Or to put it in other words, the historical analogy may be true but may not be 100% valid. It could mean that computers which took a decade, AI may not take a decade but may take 2 or 3 years if not to reach the same level of full scale adoption. So what Goldman Sachs or what JP Morgan say is true, but then that does not guarantee that the future labor market stability is assured. Or to put it in other words, what we know from the past is necessary to understand but not fully sufficient to predict or to comfortably say that the same pattern will recur in future as well. So this is the Bureau of Labor Statistics from the US government. So this is the projection. AI primarily affects occupations where core tasks like generative AI can replace. For example, entry level, lawyer level jobs, entry level jobs in different clerical and then automated job levels, entry level office work or entry level factory work, entry level warehousing, logistics work. Computer, legal, business, financial jobs are susceptible but uncertain in the sense that where the displacement happens, at what is the skill level or at the team level, or is it happening at the level of expected augmentable level, or is it where displacement also happens. For example, nurse practitioners, 52 AI augments but not replaceable. So this is true in some jobs like nurses, teachers, where human interaction is required like doctors, or where face-to-face interaction is also skill oriented, that cannot be replaced by AI. The potential of AI displacing those jobs to a great extent will be less compared to other jobs where AI displacement can happen on account of the skill set can be transferred to AI without disrupting the workflow or without disrupting the productive process. So for every 10-point increase in the AI coverage, the Bureau of Labor Statistics says that it stops to 0.6%. So the insufficient data infrastructure remains greatest obstacle for AI adoption. But if that is overcome, if AI adoption grows on a larger scale, then this statistical inference may not hold good. So even now if you see, customer service reps are the ones that are feeling the most, so are the early people, data entry level people. Data scientists see positive growth, software developers see positive growth, personal financial advisors see positive, nurse practitioners see positive. But personal finance advisors today, a good amount of that job is going to be taken over by chatbots or AI-assisted financial advisors within the next 5 years. And then the software developers, basic level coding or has been is now used by AI, or most of the software firms themselves are using AI to do coding more effectively, efficiently and faster. So you wouldn't need that much level of labor or that much level of teams of people to code. You may still need someone to supervise, you may still need someone to check for quality and then to do the quality checking and checking for the installation and other purposes, but not this many to do the basic coding. Then data scientists, again it depends upon what level of job they are and then what level of job level that could be automated or where the AI can play. So nurse practitioners, right now we don't have data on how much of their jobs will be impacted by AI, because that is a more one-to-one interacting or a single person managing more than one or two patients or team of patients, as well as more skills that are skill oriented that are acquired over a period of years by training rather than transferable skills. Or nurse practitioner skills are less transferable to both AI as well as robots. So the employment projection as of now, AI's fingerprint should be taken up with some level of underestimate the sense that the history may not be the right or exact guide to predict the future. So sector by sector analysis also shows us certain thing, like the major disruptions are coming in financial service. AI robo advisors are competing with human financial advisors as we saw in the previous one. See, AI robo advisors and financial human advisors can play a different role, that is what one would say. But AI robo advisors may be much more sophisticated. A team of AI advisors can do multiple jobs or can deal with multiple things simultaneously rather than human financial advisors who often operate on a one-to-one basis. But when integrated AI in service delivery can be transformed, it is not just fintech alone. Fintech, it can happen in other sectors as well. For example, algorithmic trading, fraud detection, credit scoring can be transformed to AI, where human skills will be used by AI to work in a faster way to do many things which humans may not be able to achieve 7% efficiency. And then compliance and regulatory functions, although are being done by humans now, is mostly being done through AI assisted, or AI can play a role, humans can play a role, but AI will help the humans to augment their skills rather than to replace as of now. But let us also keep this into mind. Many of the big consultancy firms, IT firms, or the big consultancy firms, financial institutions, insurance institutions, the insurance and other service sectors are also deploying proprietary LLMs at scale. They are also mandating that their employees should work with AI and then they should work with AI agents, and they are also assigned training, they are also trained in that. So whatever JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley or for that matter McKinsey or KPMG or E&Y, they all talk of that. They are also adopting AI in their own workplace so that they gain the most. At the same time, they are going for their own proprietary LLMs. They are devising and designing tools and then LLMs and then other systems for their own application to match their needs and then upcoming needs in the decades. Or to put it in other words, those who advise, those who predict are also the ones who are the best and then the early adopters of AI. So the skill set pivot, financial professionals now need data literacy and AI proficiency rather than simply having proficiency in finance alone. So the skills, reskilling, upskilling will also vary accordingly. Same thing will apply for basic level coding. Basic level coding, when it's totally automated and if AI is going to do, then basic level coding will not be sufficient. People will have to learn more, or people who want to go up in the ladder have to learn new skills or have to equip themselves for multiple skills in coding, for multiple skills in information technology industry. So routine accounting, basic data entry, standard report generation roles are at greater risk because AI can replace many of these roles easily. But AI model oversight, complex client relationship, regulatory strategy, these are the roles. Here new roles may come, new roles may emerge, new skills will be needed, and the new alignment of jobs will come, particularly when the roles are totally new. Or the roles are aligned with AI adoption in the industry itself, so that roles which were not there earlier have to be introduced to ensure that AI adoption runs smoothly without disrupting the expected outcomes. So as of now, the risks are not very clear, but it is very clear that some roles may become totally redundant or if not fully replaced by AI. Healthcare, it is as of now is an augmenter, not a replacer. Nurses, therapists, AI, they are supposed to, role is supposed to, AI is supposed to augment and replace. But in some sectors where pattern recognition is important, AI can do exceedingly well. Radiology and pathology, but cannot replace human empathy or cannot replace the humans in total. So this is where AI can play an augmented role, particularly when the radiologists have to see X-rays, more X-rays in a day, or when pathologists have to analyze more and more number of samples. Drug discovery, AI is going to play a major role because AI is disrupting drug discovery across all pipeline. So drug discovery, AI is making fundamental changes in the way drug discovery works because AI enhances the drug discovery model, drug discovery potential, but it can automate the drug discovery process. It can work with human teams. It can also work on its own. And more importantly, drug discovery is a long drawn process. So some part of the process humans may still be required, but many of the processes AI can handle in coordination with humans, or some portion of the jobs can be simply handed over to AI. For example, analysis of thousands of chemicals, or looking at the potential to generate new molecules from the potential that would be generated. And then there are a lot of many options where drug discovery timelines, if they are compressed from years to months to using AI, what new jobs will emerge there? If the drug discovery, development and then regulatory process is going to be totally automated, new jobs may emerge, old jobs may get displaced, some jobs may be totally vanish. So the administrative burden on clinicians may be reduced when AI-powered augmentation happens, but this can also mean that clinicians' role will get augmented. They need to get more skills as to how to use AI effectively. So McKinsey is very optimistic, says the value will be 2.6 to 4.4 trillion in terms of dollars. So the fastest growing AI applications are medical imaging analysis and diagnostics. As we saw in the health related AI discussion, these are very important applications which are upcoming in a major way. So whatever we see here, healthcare AI as an augmenter and not as a replacer is likely to be a one that could happen at least for the medium term. But certain things like drug discovery are getting massively disrupted by AI. But service oriented ones like nurses, therapy aides, doctors, and then clinicians, their role will get augmented rather than replaced. The technology sector itself is disrupting its own workforce. Cloud system design stopped growing, or just after ChatGPT, there was no great jobs in that. Then LLMs automated some labor via coding assistance while reshaping business strategy. Entry-level coding few answer roles are most affected. AI handles boilerplate code, or when code is taken out from human hands and then it is done by AI. Most of the jobs which humans did routinely can be handled by AI in a much more efficient and faster way. So senior engineers are increasingly AI to 10% increase their output. But as senior engineers engage more with AI, as the pyramid structure is still there, how many of the senior engineers will be in the job after 5 or 10 years will be a big question, because if the AI adoption is going to increase on a very massive scale, and then if AI is going to get more and more sophisticated, how many of their jobs themselves cannot be done by AI or in augmented use with AI is a big question. So unemployment among 20 to 30 year tech workers is also increasing. Post-COVID tech career is now unwinding, accelerated by AI efficiency gains. Or to put it in other words, junior software developers, quality assurance testers, technical writers, web designers, they are the most AI risk roles. But AI ML engineers, data scientists, then prompt engineering and AI trainers, AI security professionals, AI infrastructure architects, these are the tech roles which are fast growing, but for how long and what pace is not yet clear. In manufacturing, robots are replacing repetitive assembly tasks. Predictive maintenance is down by 20 to 40%. Skilled technicians and engineers are high demand, but till what time? Their roles also may get totally automated. Blue collar routine roles in the long term will decline. Or in the long term, blue collar routine roles will be taken over either by AI assisted robots or by robots, or will get integrated into broader automation of manufacturing and logistics and production. So wholesale retailer, again impacts are not clear. Personal and food services, these are least threatened, that's what people say. But here again, let us look at some other developments. We need not look only from the perspective of AI, because drones are also emerging as an alternative for human delivery, and even in India, in some cities, home-based drone deliveries are still available. Or it is most likely that not AI, not automation, but drones that may displace food and personal services to a great extent. So the least threatened by AI may be a job that could be threatened by drones or a similar technology. Similarly, when it comes to installation, repair and maintenance, it is likely that these are low risk and will be continued in demand unless and until that automation and AI becomes so, robots become so skill specific that they can do that. But again, the question is not whether they can do or not. The question is the economic benefit of replacing humans in installation, repair and maintenance by robots. So the same thing is applicable in construction and then allied trade as well. So here it is not the question of whether robots can do or not do. The question is whether it really makes economic sense to deploy robots or not. Or to put it in other words, in manufacturing, retail and service sectors, even when the impact is going to be significant across sectors, we cannot simply predict that certain roles will not be disrupted by automation, robots or by AI. So the professional services, legal, we saw AI is automating contract review. As I am in the legal education sector, I know the real fact that it is creating huge displacement in the sense that firms do not need so many teams of people to do these jobs. Accounting also, routine bookkeeping, it's at risk. So a person with BCom or MCom degree who does routine bookkeeping, he or she may find this being taken over by AI. Whereas person at a higher level of job may still feel comfortable that AI is not going to replace them in a day or two. Then architecture, AI will become augmenting role. Marketing and then addressing employment role because AI efficiency has gained. Graphic design, AI will do a lot of things because you don't need an entry level demand. A Canva can do many things. You can do many things with ChatGPT or what a team of graphic designers did can be done by one person with augmented support from AI. So telephone call centers may become totally obsolete because AI voice agents, chatbots, and then other things can easily replace them. Office administration, again the same problem, voicemail, AI can do many things like scheduling, typical admin work can be done by AI and then other AI agents. So creative direction, strategic brand work remains strongly human led. As long as these skills are human oriented, there is no replacement by AI, they may still remain strong. But for how long and at what level, not easy to predict. But we need to look at AI in the broad global inequality where IMF says AI impact and advance is more than double in the low income. So the key determinant will be specialized technologies, data and infrastructure. AI preparedness can mitigate but not fully offset global disparities. So the productivity gains will be significant, but then they may reduce the traditional role of exchange rate adjustments, putting into disadvantage countries that are not adopted AI or countries with strong AI governance and innovation ecosystems are best positioned to capture the gains from AI revolution in productivity in manufacturing and in sectors. So a positive prediction says labor productivity can grow 0.4 to 1.8% over a period of 10-year horizon. So the global inequality, AI is not going to solve it. AI may make it worse, but again, those who are in a better position to gain from AI adoption, if they're going to gain more, it may fuel more inequality than addressing the current inequality. But then you cannot blame technology for it. There are other structural matters, there are also historical factors that are in play. And more importantly, we should also understand that when we talk of broadly global inequality, we need a granular approach, we need a granular approach towards it because global inequality also hides that there is greater inequality among countries rather than within countries to a great extent. So we need to look into global inequality as well as the inequality within countries and then or among within regions to get a better idea about the AI divide between nations or AI divide within the nation itself or AI divide within sectors and then different segments of a population. So how do we do this in terms of policy and then future outlook? So key risks and concerns are energy demand. Energy demand may be too difficult to meet. Risk of higher energy prices, carbon emissions, which may again constrain clean energy transition. Inequality may get widened. Early career disruption may happen for young workers who are at the cusp of taking a new job, entering a new life. So that could be a major reason for social upheaval or young workers unable to find decent jobs rather than just jobs or adding to the unemployment problem. So entry level hiring, if it's going to be a problem in tech, it is not going to be a problem in tech alone. So over-investment may result in another AI bubble similar to dot-com bubble. Then over-investment may also undermine the capacity or the credibility of AI to do certain things positively. And then concentration of power will happen because it is feared that few countries and then few firms who are going to benefit more from AI, particularly in the terms of investment in AI infrastructure, AI talent and then AI technology, they once will benefit most and then fueling another round of inequality. So the policy recommendations are invest in reskilling, lifelong learning, avoid job panic, build global AI governance framework so that the global AI governance frameworks take care of some of the disparities that are emerging and then they don't become worse in the years to come. Infrastructure should be expanded equitably so that infrastructure doesn't get concentrated in few regions or around few cities. Again, attracting a lot of labor migration, displacement from regions where AI has already displaced labor. So we need to strengthen social safety nets where they are available but not fully sufficient. And then we need to monitor and measure the impact of AI, positive and negative impacts, and then also to plan for the long-term changes continuous basis. So the future outlook is that it's still less than 30. Impact is also going down to be great. So global governance is going to be a major challenge here. Earlier carry hiring is getting an idea that there's going to be a broader displacement. Productivity statistics is not a clear. It may show in 2027, maybe 28 or 2030. But the next inflection point will come from quantum plus AI convergence potential, and we are not very clear about it because there are two things we need to keep that in mind. One, quantum is an emerging technology that is going to have a large impact across sectors, not just a minimal but large impacts. Two, quantum technology adoption rate, where the investments are going to be, how the applications will be developed, who will be the earlier adopters, and then who will benefit most, and then who will not be able to even come to even to have minimum capacity in quantum technologies or quantum computing are big questions. So right now the convergence potential is going to be next inflection point. Are we prepared for it? I don't think we are, nor the world is prepared for. Because even to predict, even to hypothesis, even to understand and then act, AI's impact itself is very difficult. We have explained why. But tech convergence is totally unpredictable. There could be unpredictable benefits, unpredictable risks, unanticipated harms, unanticipated benefits, as well as totally unexpected black swans. So the future outlook seems to be reasonably good, but then post the 2030 scenario, we can't be sure because technology disruption can happen at a much faster pace than what is happening now. And 3 years back or even 4 years back, there was not great discussion about agentic AI or vibe coding or how AI will impact coding and then entry-level jobs in the software industry. But in the last 2 years, that discussion has gained traction, and now that is a major concern for the industry as well as for the policymakers. So in future, it is really difficult to predict as to what will be the major theme that will be the determining one by 2030 or by 2031. So whenever we take this future outlook, it should be taken more as a guidance, not as an exact prediction, more as a estimated guess rather than as a proper thing that will happen at that as specified. So the AI economy where we stand, economic upside is real. It is there. Jobs as of now net positive, but next few years we are not sure. Wages are rising for AI workers, so there is no mass disruption yet. That's a good news. But the bad news is that we are not very sure when that will happen, how that will happen, and who will be impacted. Inequality is a real risk, which even IMF agrees. So how to address it within countries, among countries, globally across regions, whether AI adoption is a solution or AI adoption is going to be another factor that will add to this, we are not very sure. So we are in very still early stages of AI adoption, and then our assumptions and predictions today are based on data, inferences and statistics that are available. They are necessary, but they may not be fully sufficient to give very exact or to say that with confidence anything specific. So AI economy where we stand seems to be no need to be panicky about, but then there are lots and lots of matters that we need to be really concerned about. So these are the references and data sources which we have used for it. But as I said, and as I've been saying in this course, the literature is huge, and then the trends are also increasing day by day. So if I refer to global IMF's working paper today, I need to update myself with what ILO says, what UNCTAD says, what IMF or World Bank will say in the next months, or what the global outlook for employment or the UNDSA's global economic outlook will say, or what OECD statistics will say in the subsequent months. So when I read a report of May 2026, the statistics, the inference there is necessary and sufficient, but I have to understand that thing as of now, but that will not illuminate me for the next 6 months or 1 year to come. That will give me an idea. But unless I keep myself updated, unless I try to understand subsequent developments by tracking literature, I should not, or nor you should lead into a false lethargy or false thinking that if IMF says it should be true, if PW says this is true, or between 2025 and 2030 things are looking safe, no, there may not be major disruption. So we should be wary of both positive as well as negative outlook or expectations or fears. Rather, we should look at how things will develop, what needs to be done, who will be the actors, which stakeholders will take the initiatives, and more importantly, the impact of AI is going to be on humankind as such, including, of course, I am also talking of nature here. So, this is an issue where everyone is trying to come to grips with, where everyone is trying to break their heads and then understand where we are going, which direction AI is moving to, and the impacts. So this is not something like hazy projection, or this is not something like where you can drive projection based on the past 10 years economic data and productivity data and predict comfortably. So it is not a thing where the unknowns you have to be very careful and clear about. The unknowns we have to be very, very cautious about. So knowing the unknown from the known has its own risk and benefit, and this is all the more true for AI's impact in jobs and economy. So in the next session we will continue this same topic, but we will look at more sources, we will look at more different viewpoints, so that by the end of the 2 sessions we will have a broadly better understanding of the AI's impact on economy and jobs. Thank you.